What is going on, guys? Matt Downs with Daily Grind Fantasy Sports to help give you the edge for this Wildcard 3-game NFL slate. Cannot wait to break it down. If you guys want to be entered into the $25 giveaway that we do every single week, please post below your favorite GPP play for this NFL slate. If you guys are brand new to this channel, we provide both free and paid content for all daily fantasy sports across all sports. If you could please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, and of course smashing that like button for all of our future NFL content. If you would like to know more about becoming a better DFS player and taking down that big GPP, head over to www.patreon.com/DGFantasy for more information. On Patreon, we give advanced cheat sheets for all DFS sports on Draftkings. These cheat sheets include updated projections, ownership, and our overall favorite plays from slate to slate. We take it a step further by teaching you how to play fantasy sports like a shark, by showing you where the best leverage spots are to put you in the best spots to take down tourneys. Also included is our private Discord chat where you get to talk over the slate with everyone, including our coaches, to help build your lineups. Now let's go ahead and dive right into this NFL wildcard slate with Kevin. I have Kevin with me. He hasn't been here because there's been no MMA content, guys. We're waiting for MMA to roll back here. We have another week, so until then, we're going to be covering NFL only here. And also, if you saw him on the Prize Picks videos, he's starting to do that again. So shout out to Kevin for doing that. But now we're going to talk some NFL. 3-game slate only. It is the wild card. It is officially playoff time. Cannot wait to break it down. Let's go ahead, Kevin, and start out at the quarterback position. We have Josh Allen, 42.3% owned, and then literally the next highest owned is Tom Brady at 16.5%, an enormous drop off. So, will you be playing Josh Allen in cash, Kevin?
I mean, that is such a big difference. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened to the Colts. I mean, they just started off as such a hot defense, but they've just been going downhill so fast, which is crazy because, I mean, I would say this is not a favorable matchup, but the way things sit, I think it's a very favorable matchup.
It is.
Obviously, his wide receivers' health is important with Diggs and Beasley, who are both questionable. But we talked about this, Matt, before the stream. It's how do you not have those guys play in a playoff game? You know what I mean? I just don't see it happening.
Right.
Stephon Diggs is not going to sit in a playoff game. I don't care if he's got
especially since he's been playing all season long. No way.
100%. Yeah, he's played every single game, I believe. He's played through a couple little minor injuries anyway. I mean, this is an oblique injury. It's not like he has a partially torn MCL and he's going to try to fight through it. I think he absolutely plays. So I definitely like Diggs, but I also obviously like Josh Allen for that reason. It makes sense to me that he's carrying that much ownership. I mean, when you look at the quarterbacks on this slate, Matt, it's
not too much to choose from.
No, there's not too much to choose from. I mean, Tom Brady and Russell, we know, can both make the optimal. I don't see a world where Phillip Rivers, Alex Smith, or Walford makes the optimal.
Right.
You know what I mean? But other than that, I mean, he should be the highest scoring quarterback on the slate. So the question is that make him worth $7,500?
Right. That's a great question. And I think that Josh Allen, for that reason, is very, very safe. But one thing we have to point out, Kevin, is that we're looking at Tom Brady at $6,900, which is only $600 cheaper. If Tom Brady was really cheap, I would obviously consider him as an option. But he's so close to Josh Allen's price tag. And, why not just go up and pay the $600 extra to go up and grab somebody that has a tremendous floor just based on history. Now, when we talk about GPP options, you mentioned the other two quarterbacks, your Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. Personally, those are the only guys I'm considering. I'm obviously not going to go down and consider somebody like Phillip Rivers. I'm just not that much upside when you compare them to Josh Allen, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson. We know if anybody's going to have a ceiling game, it's going to be one of these three. Josh Allen's obviously in the best spot, but Tom Brady and Russell Wilson, according to our leverage sheet, they're the only options to consider other than Josh Allen. I personally like Russell Wilson. And I'd still prefer Josh Allen at his price tag, but Russell Wilson showing 16% ownership. I think you can get away with it. If he does happen to outscore him, I think it's going to be Russell Wilson, and he's going to have to get it going with in the rushing game. At least Russell Wilson will, just to show his upside. It's not the best matchup. I know it's the Rams, one of the best defenses in the league, but again, this is prime time Russell Wilson in the playoffs. It's a completely different animal, and we've seen what he's done down the stretch here. Not been that impressive, but I do like Russell Wilson as a GPP option. Do you agree with that, Kevin?
I do, just for the reasons you said. Also, the fact if Goff sits, it might be able to keep him on the field more,
right?
Which I do like. Which there's no decision yet. I mean, Goff just got surgery, and he could sit. And it's just, it is. I mean, he has been absolutely trash against the Rams this year, and I mean, it's the Rams. I mean, you know what I mean? They are so friggin' good defensively. You know, second best against quarterbacks. So but I do agree it is a different Russell Wilson.
I just want to reiterate, Kevin, real quick. This is a stretch. Like, I'm trying to make this a GPP play. I still like Josh Allen as a top
I agree. And I'm
option.
the same way. I'm going to do the same thing with Tom Brady when I'm looking at him versus Washington, who is a tough defense.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I think Tom Brady's viable too, but I could easily see Tom Brady, you know, making this a running back game and being Tom Brady in the playoffs and be like, we're going to win this game. I don't care about anything else we're playing.
Sure.
So I'm the same way. I'm trying to stretch Tom Brady into that category too.
Yeah.
So
I think
they do have upside. They both can score 4 touchdowns in a game. You know
they do. But when you're looking at the actual optimal, I think, 8 times out of 10, probably, if I had to guess, it's going to be Josh Allen and some of these other wide receivers from Buffalo. It just has to be. Josh Allen
is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
He's just going to sling. He doesn't care.
Such a good player. And again, if we talk about the spread here, 51 is the spread here, or the over-under, rather, for the Colts and Buffalo. And if we go down to the Rams and the Seahawks, 42.5. Washington and Tampa Bay, a 44.5. So it's a major drop-off in pace when you look at the other games. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the running back picture here. The last time I sent you the sheet, Chris Carson was at the top. It's still Chris Carson. However, Jonathan Taylor has gone up in ownership just a little bit. 46.2% owned. He's the second highest. Let me just talk about Chris Carson here. Looks like a good salary saver, $5,900. This game should favor the running game just because it's the Rams. $5,900. Are you paying down for Chris Carson here in cash?
You know what, Matt? Honestly, I think... it's not the worst thing in the world in cash, but I'm looking and I'm like, this is where you differentiate yourself from the field.
Okay.
Chris Carson, we know how much we loved him, and this is playoffs. He's probably going to get more scoring opportunities than he's seen recently. But again, he's been pretty trash I don't want to say all year, but since his return off that injury. I mean, sans like the 2 New York teams he played, the Jets and the Giants, I mean, he really has not been good, Matt. I mean, 9 points, 10 points, 10 points. I mean, one of those 10-point games I just mentioned was against the Rams.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's the scoring opportunities. I mean, he's averaging about 4 yards a carry. He's not getting the receptions I want to see him get either.
Sure.
And I just think his floor it's okay, but his ceiling is a little limited. When I'm looking at someone like, if I'm going around that price, I mean, who I think has more upside, I think like an Akers or a Ronald Jones could snap. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in a smash spot, especially with the way, like I said, Tom Brady wins playoff games. They still have such a good front line and a good defense. We know that this Washington team can't throw particularly well. So I think they're going to, try to keep it close and try to run it. And that's going to make, the Bucs reciprocate. And I think they're going to run it with Ronald Jones a lot. I think Ronald Jones is going to have a big game.
Well, guess what, Kevin? You're off the hook here because Chris Carson is the most overrated player according to our leverage sheet at 16.4%. You can go ahead and take a look if you don't believe me. But I completely agree with you. I think he's bad chalk. I really do. In terms of actual upside and specifically in GPPs, Ronald Jones is one of my favorite running backs to target. And same thing with Jonathan Taylor because nobody's going to be paying up at the running back position, Kevin. If we look at Jonathan Taylor, he's the most on the slate, $7,900. A great leverage spot just because, like I said, it's going to be very hard to fit Jonathan Taylor. And if you're paying up for somebody like Josh Allen, it just makes it very awkward. So I think that just a straight up pivot off of Chris Carson to somebody like Ronald Jones, Cam Akers even, we didn't even talk about him. Just another great option. Antonio Gibson has just as much upside in my opinion. All of these running backs are in phenomenal spots. I think people are just looking at the over-under. They're determining the game script with the Seahawks to beat Chris Carson, rush game. I get it. But limited upside based on what he's done previously. Don't really like him. But yeah, I think it's a great pivot spot. We just basically touched on GPPs. So let's go ahead and switch over to the wide receiver position, Kevin. At wide receiver, we have Stephon Diggs, 67.1% owned, $7,700 the most on the slate. I think he's very straightforward. I think it's very obvious. Right now, in Fantasy Cruncher, it looks like Beasley has no projection, so they're expecting him to sit. However, he's technically questionable. If he does sit, John Brown is the second highest owned guy on the slate, $4,700 with a 12.17 point projection, and at 42.1% ownership, he's the second highest. Do you agree with the top two, according to Fantasy Cruncher, assuming that Beasley does sit? Do you agree with that picture?
Yeah, Beasley sits, yeah, for sure. I said that in my Prize Picks video. I was like, if Diggs or Beasley sits, Brown is a lock for the over and Prize Picks. He's a lock for DraftKings. He's a lock for everything. I'm just laughing, Matt, because this is as hard as you can make a 3-game slate for wide receiver. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll call a spade a spade. Like, this is going to be a tough, but this, I will say this creates huge leverage. I mean, there will be so much separation in a 3-game slate because of the wide receiver position that there wouldn't be a normal 3-game slates because of how many viable options are. I mean, look at these teams. I mean, 3 wide receivers on the Bills that could absolutely make the optimal. 3 on the Bucks that could absolutely make the optimal. 2 on the Rams that could absolutely make the optimal.
You even talk about the Seahawks yet? Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. So it's like it's ridiculous. Like this is the most deep teams that were receiver in the NFL, and they're all in one slate. So I think this is going to be, like I said, the most differentiating at wide receiver. Exactly. This is where I would probably start my lineups at quarterback and running back. Hope I get those right. And if I'm making multiple lineups, differentiate myself a wide receiver and just start mixing and matching.
I like that. I like that thought process, and it's really interesting to see the ownership so high on Stephon Diggs based on the reasons that you said. Like, is John Brown at $4,700 really that better of an option than somebody like down here at Robert Woods that we've seen? Tyler Lockett $6,900, Cooper Kupp's at $6,000, which is actually pretty cheap. Antonio Brown $61. No, he's not that good of an option. Just because of his price tag, $4,700 allows you to get in. All those players that you want at the running back and quarterback position. He's had a good stretch of games, John Brown has, but people are just looking at that and just plugging and playing them into your lineup could definitely be bad chalk. That being said,
sorry, I was gonna say, not to mention like a McLaurin and a Hilton are still in the slate, like just to screw everything up.
I'm just reading down the list, and every single option you can make a good opinion for. Yeah, but John Brown without Michael Beasley, obviously I like him. I'm not gonna hate on John Brown. I think this is gonna be the highest scoring team on the slate. Stephon Diggs for sure could easily have a ceiling game, but if any one of these other teams keep up with them, Metcalf could easily break the slate at $6,700 for reasons we talked about with Russell Wilson. All these guys are viable. So yeah, I think for GPP, you go anywhere but the Buffalo stack, Kevin. I think that's the only way that you can differentiate yourself. Russell Wilson, Metcalf stack could easily work out for you. Same thing with Lockett. We know his upside. If the Rams do give up any type of defense, I do really like all these other stacks. Tom Brady and Godwin is actually one of the top stacks on our leverage sheet, just for in terms of actual leverage. So yes, so many options. Godwin here is projected at 14.14 points at $7,000. It's really awkward to get to, so it makes for another great leverage stack. If you had to name one single GPP leverage stack, where are you looking, Kevin?
With a quarterback?
Yeah, with a quarterback.
If we're going GPP, I'm trying to get different. I'm taking Tom Brady and a receiver, honestly. I just think, I know Russell and Pronto. It's not that it couldn't happen, but I just think that Seahawks game and Rams game is going to be a make or break for the slate.
Yeah.
Either one of those receivers and Russell.
For sure.
Exactly. They're going to break it, or they're going to play like the Rams. And I talked about DK and Lockett in my prize picks video. Both of their games, so you take their 4 games they've played against the Rams, 2 games each.
Yeah.
Trash. Like all 4 trash. Like they've had trouble against the Rams, and obviously Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that team is great. And if Russell can get to playoff form, that's going to break the slate. Say DK just pops off and goes full DK, or Lockett starts burning them. That's going to be the one that breaks the slate. But if I had to pick one that I feel a little more confident in, I'd probably say Tom Brady and a receiver like an AB, a Godwin, Mike Evans if he plays and healthy. Mike Evans we've seen pop 40 points. That's the only thing. Like AB and Godwin are more consistent, Matt. Mike Evans finds the end zone, and we've seen him have more boom games. Yeah. That's why it's like Evans is a little more high risk, high reward, especially with that knee.
Yeah. Let's make it interesting, Kevin. Give me your favorite wide receiver from Tampa Bay right now on the spot. Go.
Evans.
Got it. I agree with you. I like Evans. Yeah, and we talked about this before the video. 43 points. That's the game we were waiting for Mike Evans, and it could definitely see it repeat here in the playoffs.
Well, that's the thing, man. I'm going to say this. When people can't stop Mike Evans, he's one of those receivers, like he has that Devontae Adams factor. He's not Devontae Adams, but he has that factor where when you can't stop him, you can't stop him.
Oh,
that's it. Like he's too big, he's too fast, he's too powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, so. Speaking of size, we still have DK Metcalf on the slate, guys. There's so many options.
Yeah, it's scary, this receiver slate, man.
It's going to be fun. Like I said, it's going to be a fun wild card to watch for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the tight end picture here. This is where you're paying down. Guys, there's no standout studs here for the tight end position. Logan Thomas being the highest price, $4,900, and a good matchup, at least according to the season here. 27% owned. Do you agree with that chalk, Kevin?
I was going to say, Matt, I will play a little contrarian here, or a little disagreeing. I'll say there is a standout in Logan Thomas.
Okay.
I think, and this was a bold statement, but in my opinion, the way tight ends are playing right now, not counting like a Kittle, I'm gonna say it goes right now. Kelsey, Waller, Logan Thomas.
Okay.
That's how I feel. I don't think he's in that category of those other two.
Did you say Kittle?
I'm not talking about Kittle. I'm
Okay.
going to leave him out just because,
Okay.
like, with his quarterback situation and banging up injuries all year, I'm just going to not. I think he's still in a league of his own, or with Kelsey rather. But,
Okay, I was about to reach through the camera and punch you in the face. Okay, good.
I'm not saying he's better than Kittle. Don't worry. But yeah, I think Logan Thomas is just playing absolutely lights out. There's, his target share is unbelievable. Yeah, do you know he was a quarterback?
I actually didn't. No. Did he play basketball? Is that the same person I'm thinking about, or no?
I don't know if he played basketball, but I saw.
I feel like every tight end at some point has played basketball.
Played something, yeah. Darren Waller was a wide receiver, and you know how I always call him a wide receiver. And
he actually was, yeah.
Yeah, he was a wide receiver. So it's so weird, man. Tight end's a weird position.
Yeah.
I feel like they just take the most athletic guys, and they're like, yeah, we're going to switch it around. But yeah, Logan Thomas, absolutely amazing, very consistent at the position. So I agree with the chalk, and I think he has the most. I mean, I don't want to say the most upside tight end because tight end, whoever's going to score the highest is who's going to get touchdowns. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think Logan Thomas is a lock for optimal or the highest scoring tight end, and he's the most expensive by over $1,000. So, I mean, I'm not saying lock him in GPPs, but cash games, I don't hate it. But you got some people like, a Gronk that could catch a touchdown very easily. I will say players like Higbee on here who are good tight ends, Matt, aren't super, they're not touchdown catchers. So I don't know. It's an interesting tight end slate. I don't see a lot of even stutter dud tight end guys. So, I mean, I guess if I was going to pick, I'd probably say between Gronk and Logan Thomas. I mean, how do you feel about a Dawson Knox?
Well, do you know what, Kevin? You're on fire because the most inflated tight end is actually not Logan Thomas, according to ownership. The most inflated is actually Dawson Knox. Sitting there at 20.9% ownership, they say that does not make sense. So a contrarian pick would actually be going up to Logan Thomas. I think people are just strictly looking at Dawson Knox and they're looking at the over-under and they're like, you know what? That's going to be my plug and play because at $3,200, that is very cheap. I can get it. I totally get that. But again, it's showing it highly inflated. They're saying more of a contrarian play would be to be paying up for Logan Thomas, which I agree with. I think Logan Thomas is a great option, but my favorite contrarian play at tight end is going to be Rob Gronkowski at what business percentage? 17.4%. I really do. I think that Tom Brady, it's playoff Tom Brady. We don't even need to talk about it again.
Playoff Gronk and Brady, man. I'm freaking so excited. I wish it was in a Pats uniform. But I'm excited.
And he's the second highest priced on the slate. So people might be less intrigued in Gronk. It's boom or bust for him. It's been like that all season long. If he can find the touchdowns, he can obviously make for a very, very good DK performance. And they're the second highest scoring team on the slate. So love that. Let's move on to defense. This is a very quick video. Didn't even realize we were just storming right through this. But guys, it's very straightforward. Very easy to get contrarian on the slate, especially at the wide receiver position. Looking at defenses. So this is actually updated since the last update I sent you, Kevin, so sorry about that, but the Bucks are now the highest owned on the slate, 28.3% owned, and then the second highest is the Seahawks. I believe that was the highest owned the last time I sent you. Let me just ask you this: are you paying up for the Bucks or are you paying down for the Seahawks here?
Honestly, I was looking and just gut reaction. Favorite defense on the slate was probably the Bucks.
Okay.
I mean, if the Seahawks play, and Jared Goff sits, might shift me a little bit. But I mean, just eye test and matchup. I mean, that Buccaneers defenses, they got so many studs, man. So many studs.
Yeah.
I know their secondary is not the best in the world, but it's a pretty favorable matchup against. I mean, the Washington football team is not a team that really gets it going on offense too hot. So I think the Bucks are a good pick, and then Seahawks still a good pick if Goff sits. But if
I was about to say, if Goff does sit, then load up the Seahawks 100%. $2,700. There's no reason that they shouldn't score at least 8, I'd say, against that quarterback. But yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said. I'm not going to extend on it, guys. We're going to keep this video very short, only 18 minutes. Hopefully you did enjoy the video, guys. If you did, please do hit that subscription button, notification bell, and of course, smash that like button for all of our future NFL content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day, and let's cash.